Hello. Okay, obviously there's a lot of different brands of combat boots now, like sneaker companies started making them, so it becomes uh, really hard to even try to do a head-to-head review like I usually prefer to do. Um, so this won't really be that. I'm kind of focusing on this one brand, even though I don't know if they still produce this particular shoe. Uh, so they used to be called Mil-Spec footwear when I first got them, and then they rebranded or whatever to Voodoo a few years ago. And so I've bought 3 or 4 pairs, and part of the reason I'm doing this video now, even I was gonna get around to it eventually, but I wanted to bump it up, is because people have been saying that you can't resole these combat boots typically, and you can. I think it varies from model to model how effective it will be, but typically it will be glued only. So your results may vary. But before we start, so for those of you who haven't seen or don't know, like before the new ones came out, this is kind of a desert version of a jungle boot. So you have the nylon with a little bit of padding up here, and they redid the lacing systems a little bit. And this is some no-name real army brand. So I have no idea, who manufactured this originally. But I did actually get this resold, so I wanted to show that yes, you can actually get a guy to glue a new sole onto an old army boot and still use them. But these run, as you can see, a bit long and skinny and kind of narrow. So I didn't necessarily have the stability I wanted on a hike where I was on terrain. Again, these are meant to be desert boots, but they didn't have the flat jungle boot tread. They had a little bit of a different tread, more similar to this tread, but it still has the drainage holes and no side zippers, which is the thing we're going to talk about in a minute, and blah blah blah. And so, but anyway, so that was that. So then the Mil-Spec model, which I got resold by the same guy with the same outsole. So again, a glue, just basically a glue here. There's stitching here. Um, so what's different from this model to that model? As you can see, there's a kind of a thicker nylon, a bit more structure to the side, a bit more padding up here in the collar or whatever, a gusseted tongue instead. Well, there wasn't technically a gusseted tongue, but this tongue has padding and insulation, and like a lot more foam, a lot of synthetic liner material instead of just nylon, and it has a sort of removable insole. This one's kind of beat up, and of course, side zipper with a Velcro tab to hold the hardware in place. And then D rings in this particular model, and eyelets here. And so you can see a bit more firm construction and a little bit wider, not quite so narrow. So a little more footbed to work with when you're going up a hill, as you can see. This one I don't think is too small. I think I've tried it on recently, and I think it still fits. These are kind of like if you wear regular GI socks, they're a little loose, but if you wear Walmart socks, they're pretty snug. But they run like an entire size or 2 sizes, however you want to count it, big. Because this is a 6, whereas in a Converse or whatever, I think it'd be a 7. So literally the sizing is way off from most of the other shoes. Again, a Truman, or I'm sorry, a Thursday Captain would be a 6.5, of this. A Truman would be a 7. And so, and obviously these aren't the original laces. And all the original laces I had are pretty much gone. I have another pair here. So what happened was I had I had 2 pairs and I wore out the bottom of both of them, and I accidentally took a mixed matched pair into the shoe guy. So I don't know if I should just have him remove that heel and put it on the boot that's less beat up on the inside or not. But the thing about these is they really do get holes in the bottom when you've worn them enough. And so I was hiking and going, why can I feel every rock through my foot worse than usual? Well, it's because if I can get my finger through there, I've done it before. Because they do get holes pretty fast with pretty common or yeah, pretty often usage. 2 to 3 months I can grind through a pair of these, and you can see how really terrible that looks maybe on the inside. This is the, like I said, this is the one that I probably shouldn't bother have gotten resold the match. The other one doesn't look as terrible inside, but you can maybe see the daylight through it if I can get it. No, I can't quite get the angle. Anyway, yeah, you can really see the if I can get my finger through there. they get pretty good holes in the bottom. So the heels don't wear that bad though. And I got like I said, these have insoles already in them, so one's in worse of a shape than the other one. The reason I can tell them apart is because you can see this one's kind of the yellowy at the bottom, and this one's less yellowy at the bottom. So the yellowy at the bottom ones are the older ones. And so then I turned around and got the black ones. And these ones I was just wearing yesterday. That's how I can tell you how. Let's see, now it says Voodoo. I can tell you how snug they are because I was just wearing it yesterday. And this one has a lot of. It's black, so you're not going to be able to see it. Maybe a little bit. These are breaking down a lot more inside, more than the previous ones where I was literally feeling every rock through the bottom without having holes in the bottom. But I think I got a defective one slightly because I know my right foot might be, or my right leg might be a little longer than my left one, but I've never had the rubber quite disintegrate all rough like that on a shoe before. Whereas the fronts are worn pretty much consistently with what you'd expect. This one just went to nothing pretty quickly, whereas you can see the left one is very nearly still intact. I don't think my leg is that much longer than my other leg. And for those of you who are wondering if I, wear my shoes funny, I don't think so. It's like the heel and the here. So the wear is pretty consistent with most of my shoes. But with this one, just nothing left here. And not quite a hole yet here. So, so coming back to the zippers though, these, I haven't had as much problem with the zippers malfunctioning on these. It might be a little bit worse if you're kind of tucking in your pants into the, the traditional blousing. Maybe that puts a little extra strain on the zipper. The main thing I mostly noticed was, up all and around here. If it's warm weather, I tend to get a heat rash wearing these more than, the old school hot weather one. Obviously, any layers of stuff against your skin can cause that, but I think I noticed it more with these because of the insulation. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I haven't had any real problem with stitching malfunctions and such. The glue On these black ones, I don't know if it was because it's not the rough out or whatever, the glue on these was really starting to come undone, and I had a guy re-glue them, and I think it's starting to fail again in some, contact points or whatever. But they've been used, so it's not like, yeah. So I don't know that that's, above and beyond regular wear and tear per se, except that I think they sat around the store for a while before I bought them, so the glue was already starting to kind of dry out. Anyway, um, what I was gonna say, yeah, I had another pair of boots. I don't know if they were Walmart or Big Five, something like that. I didn't pay for them. Somebody gave them to me at a yard sale because it was like, whoa, well, nobody's buying these, just take them, kind of thing. And I wore them a lot, and I had like the stitching all fail back here. Finally, that was kind of the last straw, but the zippers had been kind of failing for a while. Otherwise, I would have maybe got them restitched and kept wearing them because they weren't completely dead ish compared to, they were pretty close, but not totally. They could have been revived for a fee, but at that point it was just like, okay, no. These, I think I've had the zippers malfunction a lot less frequently, but it's definitely not a feature I can really endorse, over time. I don't know why they're still popular. I think it's just, do you want the convenience of getting your boots on and off easily? Okay, but you're only doing that like a couple times a day. Whereas if you're hiking more than 2 miles, you really want ankle support more than you want zippers. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So I don't know if I don't know. Like I said, if I want to do more of a head-to-head thing later, and I have some other models to look at. So if anybody has any random questions that you can always ask in the comments.